the three things that whenever I give advice to people, I say proximity, you have to be conversant, and you have to be additive. Meaning, you have to find who the decision maker is. Not the person who has to talk to a committee. Like, who is the person who right now could change your whole stuff, you know? You have to find that person, because that person can really do it, and everyone else, like, they can't really do it, so that you're kind of barking up the wrong tree. But if you find the person who can really do it, who can really give you what you want to get as proximate to them as possible. You know, you want to, like with Cooper, it was like, I'm in a car with this guy. Like, there's no greater proximity.
Welcome back to another episode of the Creator Spotlight series in partnership with the Appraise the Phrase. My name is Daniel, founder and CEO of the Monarch brand. This series is designed to platform creatives in the visual, performing, culinary, and language art spaces. If you watched last episode, we're going to stay in the entertainment space today. I've been following this guy. I've been following his journey via Twitter for a few years now. It is still Twitter. I would not hear otherwise. I also have another long bio to read, which means you know it's going to be a good episode. Who I have with me today, Kyle Alex Brett. He's a movie producer. He's an attorney based in Los Angeles, California. He previously worked as a creative executive on the features team at Blumhouse, where he also previously worked as director of business affairs. Prior to Blumhouse, Kyle worked at Netflix as counsel, a few entertainment law firms, and also served as general counsel for the Creative Collective, their flagship conference, CultureCon, as well as their film and television division, CultureCon Studios. Kyle began his career as a New York-based corporate lawyer at Simpson, Thacher, and Bartlett. You guys know who he is now? Kyle Alex Brett. How you feeling today, bro?
Thank you for reading that. I appreciate you. I'm great. I'm glad to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Good, for sure. Thanks so much for doing this. I'm super excited. Have a little icebreaker question for you. So you were born in DC and raised in Connecticut, right? But you went back to DC to attend Howard University School of Law. I actually lived in the DMV for pretty much all of the 2010s. So we lived in the same area for like, there's some overlap there. Since that's sort of a shared location for both of us, do you have a favorite memory from your time, specifically this time of DC? And if so, what was it?
Time I was in DC?
Like, just like during your law school days, because like DC now isn't what it was then.
Because that's what I was figuring that out. I was trying to figure that out. But yes, because the DC I went to law school in was, not to get political, but it was Obama's second term, and it felt like such a super fun, optimistic time everywhere in DC. Like, it was nightclubs, restaurants. It just felt like people were so optimistic about their life, about what they could accomplish. And it was just, being in DC and that energy was just great. Honestly, it was just, I always think about it, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, same. Did you have like any like staple spots, food, entertainment, anything? Or just
Ben's Chili Bowl. I used to go to Ben's all the time.
Yep. The one on U Street?
Yeah. But there's also, I forget the Ethiopian restaurants on U Street, but any of those Ethiopian restaurants. Also, because the law school was towards the end of the Red Line, I actually lived in Bethesda. And so downtown Bethesda too is great. Like, that was a great time in my life, but also I just think in the world. Like, that 2011 to 2014, I don't know, it felt really hopeful for some reason. But yeah, U Street was great. I figured there's a lot of Rose Bar. I don't know if you know Rose Bar.
Yeah.
I just went to all the bars. Howard Homecoming, used to love that. Like, anything Howard involved during that time was just epic, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to remember. I love the drum circle. I don't know if you ever did it, the drum circle at Malcolm X Park.
Yeah,
that was different. Like, that energy, the energy of the city was different, but the energy there was just like hard to put in words. I credit DC for getting me into jazz. So they had that nonprofit jazz station 89.3. And when I first moved there, they had like U Street was kind of lined with way more jazz clubs than there are now. So like Bohemian Caverns, I think it was Twins, like that was like my intro to jazz. And so like, once I started liking jazz, like once I got there, I was like, I'm an adult now. This was up.
Yeah, that's when you know you're an adult, when you start liking jazz. It's so funny. It wasn't DC, but my parents used to take me in New Haven in Connecticut where I grew up. They jazz nights on the green. And I feel like in LA where I am now, LACMA has like these Friday night jazz nights. And I feel like I don't know, just ever since I've been a little kid, like I feel like jazz nights and jazz is like a very grown and comfortable thing. And when you start liking it, you're just like, I'm in my grown and comfortable era. You know what I mean? So it's a great vibe. And DC, especially during that time, had a lot of stuff like that. I don't know if you knew Sankofa Bookstore,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but that was also great.
Yep.
Heidi Grima's a huge inspiration. But yeah, it's just like a lot of communities like that I found in DC that were just very intentional and spiritual, maybe in a weird way. But it was a great time, those 4 years or so.
Yeah. Last thing before we move on, because I don't want to belabor, but you just reminded me of a story that I haven't told a whole lot of people, but I'm going to tell it about jazz music. So last time I went with some friends. It was like kind of a guy trip. I wasn't living there, and this was probably 3 years ago. Do you remember the spot JoJo off of U Street? And they had the live jazz. So we're upstairs and the music's playing. We're waiting for our food, and the music is so beautiful, bro. Like it's me and picture me, right? Three other guys. I just start bawling, like tears flowing. Like the music is so beautiful to me. Like I'm at the table. I'm like, I don't even know what's happening. Like I'm like, like why am I crying right now? Nobody's noticing. Like I was able to like wipe without any of my friends noticing, but I'm sitting here bawling over this jazz music because it's so beautiful. But
Yeah, no, I mean the not the Holy Ghost, but sometimes when you're in spaces and like I've seen that, I think sometimes I've seen like AKAs at Howard when they sing or something. Like it just, I don't know, it catches you out of nowhere and you're just like, oh,
yeah,
it's amazing to
it is
experience stuff like that.
for sure, for sure. All right, let's get into it. So the first question I wanted to ask, because for someone who has had a journey like like you didn't start out in entertainment, but you also like that creative side had to have been there at some point. Like I don't think like your creative side started once you like moved to LA. So how long has that creative side been a part of you? Would you say?
I do not know life without creativity, to be honest with you. Like, when I was a kid, I owned all of the Goosebumps books, and I used to read all. I mean, but I can talk about books before that. But just to, as a marker, I used to read every single Goosebumps book, like every single one. And then when they started doing Choose Your Own Adventure, I still read those. Fear Street, still read those. Like I read every single Goosebumps book. And then when Harry Potter, I think I graduated to Harry Potter or something, and my town had a bookstore called R.J. Julia's. And for some reason, they were selling the book at midnight because there was all this like Harry Potter mania. And I think it was the third book. I went at midnight and I stayed up for like 16 hours. I don't know, it took me a long time to read back then, but I stayed up for like a full day just reading. And so for me, the first introduction to creativity was like just reading books, obviously. But then around that same time, that my family, we got our first computer. And with the first computer came the first printer. And with the printer came like, you remember like the perforated paper? It was like attached to like, it wasn't individual sheets like it is now. It was like one long roll of paper, right? And so we used to have that paper. And every Friday night or so, we used to go to Blockbuster, and we would you could rent, a video game or a movie or whatever. And I would always rent a movie, sometimes a video game, but whenever I rented a movie, I would watch it. And then, unbeknownst to my parents, I would, like, after I watched the movie, I would go upstairs to the family computer and I'd rewrite the movie that I saw. And I'd like change things around, like I changed the ending, but it was crazy. It wasn't like it wasn't like Stephen King or anything. It wasn't like the coherent, writing. It was just crazy, insane, manic writing. And I changed things and I put myself in stuff. And then I think my parents were like, yo, why are you wasting all of our paper? Like, what is going on? And I was like, oh, I'm just like writing these like crazy stories. And I'll never forget, I was like, oh man, I'm in trouble. Like, I'm just wasting all this paper. And then my parents, shout out to my parents. My parents, my mom and my dad, they saw what I was actually doing. I wasn't just like typing crazy wingdings. I was improvising on the movies I saw. And they just started buying me more paper. Like they just were like, all right, fine, like Kyle, we'll buy you your own paper and you can just go to town as long as you have enough paper. And when I ran out of it, they would buy more. And so, yeah, I truly don't like, I can go to even memories before that, but it suffices to say, like, I do not remember like any life without a love of books and a love of movies and a love of writing.
That's super dope. That's cool. So what I'm hearing is like the foreshadowing has been there for quite some time.
Man, like I, I mean, there's so many stories. My family, it was just so egregious that my family used to ask me to help with some of their writing, right? Like if they had to write something. And I remember this one time my sister had to read something. Like she was like, Kyle, I have to read something that I wrote in class tomorrow. Can you just write something like a creative story? And I wrote like the most insane unhinged story that she didn't read until she was in her class. And I'll never forget when she came home just like crying and like screaming. She's like, what did you write? And I was just like, I don't know, I wrote this like really cool I wrote this really cool story. Why? But it was, yeah, it was, I don't know, it was creativity, and I have been best buddies for as long as I can remember.
That's awesome. So you wrote a short story in college that was like recognized to some degree,
Damn, your
right?
research
Like
is insane.
what was the story about?
So it's funny because that story, that story is like a very, um, it's a big reason for why I am, here today, or, a lot of things I've accomplished in my life. But that story, it was about, I'm sure your viewers, your audience knows what a sundown town is. But a sundown town is just, it's usually in the South. Most of them are in the South. But when the sun goes down, um, Black people were told that they should not be outside because, the Klan or other nefarious individuals might do them harm. And so my story was called Sundown, but instead of the Klan coming out to get this town of Black people, it was like real ghosts came out and would attack the town. And it was about how the town responded to this like supernatural presence. Um, to me, it had a lot of shadows of what I ended up liking about Get Out, and low key, I feel because I was like, oh, it was like kind of like Get Out, before I saw Get Out, but really, what it was really like Sinners, like center structure of like these Black people are in like kind of like a barn or a house type thing, and they're being attacked from the outside by this supernatural force. But in Ryan Coogler's thing, it was vampires, and my thing, it was ghosts, and they kept attacking this town of Black people. And it was supposed to be like I don't know, it was supposed to be like a metaphor, but It was, I really loved it, but I ended up not pursuing a writing career. And I just, all because I wanted to be a lawyer. I saw Michael Clayton and I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. But I always regretted abandoning that story. And especially when I saw Get Out, I just was like, man, you made such a huge mistake by abandoning this part of your life. And I just was so adamant about, trying to catch up for lost time. And so, yeah, I just never forgot that story. And I always have been chasing after it.
Yeah, for sure. What was it that compelled you to write that? Like, was that part of that? I'm assuming that was that a part of a curriculum, or did it just brainchild? Because
It was just, it was, truthfully, I feel like I'm always mentioning my sister, but I remember when this is when I was younger. I wrote the story in college, but when I was very young, I thought, because when you're young, you're like, whatever. And I thought, I didn't think racism existed anymore. I thought you just kind of read about racism and like it was this weird thing that used to happen, but racism didn't really exist anymore. And I'll never forget, my sister and I were on my dad's friend, who's my uncle, but we were on my uncle's boat in Maryland on the Chesapeake Bay. And for some reason, the Klan came up again. And I was like, oh yeah, but they don't exist anymore. Like that's like an old thing. And my sister was like, "What? Like no, they still exist." And I was devastated. I was devastated. I was terrified. I just thought they were coming out to get me, like in like me specifically. I thought like they're around somewhere and they're coming to get me. And it was just so scary. It was like just terror. And I never forgot that feeling. And I tried to write a story about it after learning about sundown towns. I just thought sundown towns in themselves were and my family's also from the South. And I just thought that the concept of having to go home because you'll be killed it was a reality, is a reality, but was a reality for a lot of people. And I always thought that was like so terrifying. And then it reminded me of how I felt when I was a kid of like these forces unknown to you are coming to get you. And I think I just kind of put two and two together and just tried to write it. And it was good, but I ended up abandoning that whole writing dream. And yeah, I just kind of
well, you kind of said what drew you to law. What was it that drew you to corporate law specifically?
Yeah, it really was my love of movies, honestly, bro. Like, which is crazy because I was so wrong. But I saw after I wrote that story, low key, I saw Michael Clayton, uh, Tony Gilroy's Michael Clayton, and I was just like so blown away by that movie. I thought that movie was like the best movie I'd ever seen. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want to be a lawyer. I don't want to be a writer. I want to be a fixer at a corporate law firm. And I want to go around and do espionage adjacent things. And like, I don't, it was this crazy story I told myself that fixers really exist. And like, I want to be a fixer. And so yeah, that was literally it wasn't I wish I could be like, oh, I always wanted to be a lawyer. No, it was like I saw a movie and thought I wanted to be George Clooney. And then I went to law school and I got to a corporate law firm and I was like, I have made a very big mistake. And and I need to think, oh my God, you abandoned your writing dream and you have made a huge life error and you need to figure out how to reverse. And then fortunately I saw Get Out and I was like, oh my God, I think I need to really get out. But I think I know what I need to do.
We're gonna get to Get Out. There's one movie I want to touch on first though. So, Medicine for Melancholy. If I put my head together, you were still in undergrad. You
Yeah,
saw
oh,
that?
absolutely.
Yeah. What was it about seeing that changed your relationship to film, and like how did it change exactly?
I feel like that is I know because Yeah, I always want to make sure I say it delicately, but I and again now mind you, I wasn't a huge film person, so like I'm a big film person. I go to the movies every in high school. I went to the movies every Friday, but I had never seen a movie that not only was scored in a way that I loved, and I just felt like, oh man, this like indie kind of mumblecore soundtrack is like actually and the music I love. And it's this like black love story that I just feel like I had never seen anyone combine the two. And it was really smart. And it was just kind of the first movie I had ever seen that, it felt the protagonist, I'm not saying the film, but he was like kind of insecure. He was frustrated, but he was also like yearning, and he was a good person, and he was interesting and funny, and I don't know, I saw myself a lot in that character. Go. And just the way Barry Jenkins put it together, honestly. Like I just had never really I know that there's a lot of I then later came to learn that there was a rich tradition of black independent cinema. Shout out LA Rebellion. But I had never seen it before. And so Medicine for Melancholy was like, oh, these are, black people exist in these movies, these types of movies as well. And that was just such a light bulb for me that it took a while for me to understand what to do with that. But like, it was like, oh man, like, the types of movies that we can make are just a lot richer than I thought they were, you know?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So you reference Get Out. Um, was that what made you decide that you had to go all in on film? Like, was that kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back?
1,000%. I remember when I tell people like Get Out was my favorite movie, or like it was a very important movie to me. I think that they always think that like I loved Get Out, and I do. But when I left Get Out, I was so sad. I was like so sad that like here's this perfect movie that I felt like, oh damn, I could have done something like that, And I didn't. And I'm this corporate lawyer, and I fucking hate my job. And damn, look, Jordan Peele, he stuck to his guns, and he made an incredible. And not only was it a great movie, but it literally changed horror. Like that. I came out of that movie, and I remember it being like, that's what you gave up your dream. Like like you, you gave up your dream because you thought you wanted to do something, and look at what your dream could have turned into. Like it was so I love Get Out. Get Out's a perfect movie. And it was also like so demoralizing because it just felt like a reminder of what I had abandoned, and it haunted me in a real way. And I was like, I definitely gave up my dream, but I have a chance to get it back. And I will never forgive myself if I just stay this corporate lawyer and I don't somehow figure out how to circle back to that dream. You know what I mean?
Sure. So you're in New York, working in corporate law. You watch this film. You feel these feelings. Your next position is at Netflix, correct?
No, there was two intervening entertainment law firms.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I had to, so I see Get Out like a month later. I'm just like, okay, how can like, I gotta figure out a way to get to LA. I remember when I left Get Out actually. Like that was it was I wasn't even thinking about how good the movie was. I was like, that movie was so great. Like it doesn't even require me to think it was good. I don't need to tell anyone it was good. Everyone's gonna know it was great. And so I was like, I came out of that movie and I can remember standing on the sidewalk and I was like, how do I get to LA? Like that was just kind of, and I was like, all right, I gotta quit this job and I gotta get into entertainment because that's kind of the closest thing I can do is if I get into entertainment law. So I just applied to every single entertainment law job in New York and I got rejected by all of them except this one firm, Cowan Debates. It was a great time there. And from there I went to another firm called Shrek Rose, also a very good firm. And then from there I went to Netflix.
Got it. I'm actually glad that you told that story that way because I want people to that listen to know that like it doesn't just happen. Like you made a decision and you got rejected, but that was not the end of the road for you, like it was burnt, it continued to burn inside you, regardless of rejection, and you had to figure it out. And so,
Yeah, 1,000%. Like I always say it's like you always gotta plan like if you want to attack something, you always gotta plan like, okay, how can I get like 5 steps around it? You know what I mean? Like it's like I don't want to say never, but like whatever your goal is, it's very rare that a direct attack works, you know? It's very you need to kind of figure out, okay, I can't go through the front door, but maybe if I can get into the neighbor's basement, then from there, I can crawl up to the attic. And then from there, I can zip line down to that front door. Like I've always just thought in that way of like, I'm never going to be able to go up to any door and knock on it and they're going to let me in. That's just not how I've ever had experienced life. But if I can get in the neighborhood, then I can get to the street and I can, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like that thinking also it frees you up because it's like you know when you go to the front door and you knock and they slam the door in your face, it can be very demoralizing and it's very challenging to just get in through the front door. But if you just tell yourself, okay, all I have to do right now is just get in the neighborhood, that's a little less anxiety inducing. It was. And then when I moved to LA, I still wasn't in creative, but I was like, I'm in LA though. Like I'm getting closer. And then, we'll talk about it later, but it was like I was like, oh, I just need to get into Blumhouse. Once I get into Blumhouse, then I can figure it out. And so I've always been a person who's like, I kind of figure out if my goal is in the center, what's on the periphery, like what is that radius to the periphery? And then how do I get on the periphery? Maybe it's even the bigger circle, like a bunch of concentric circles. It's like I just have to get to the outer ring first, and then I can, then get into like the smaller ring, and then I'll get into the smaller ring, and then finally I'll collapse and I'll get into the middle. But yeah, I think for any goal you want to be thinking in these kind of concentric circles and just how do you get to the outermost one? Like that's all you got to do. You don't have to hit it first. Like if you're running a marathon, you don't have to run a marathon tomorrow. You just got to go for a run, like just go for a run and then maybe next month you go for a 5K. And then the next month after that you escalate it too. It's like I've always just been a I've always just been a proponent of these kind of incremental but directionally correct moves. You know what I mean?
mhm. So up to this point, you are now at Netflix, and in your experience, like how did entertainment law differ from corporate law? Like, was there like a mental adjustment that you had to make, and if so, what was that like?
No, I've talked to people about this too. I like but I also have this kind of life philosophy where if you're a smart, competent person, all of these like job requirements and qualifications are like nonsense. Like if you just get the job and you have training and you have someone you can ask the questions to, you can do it. I just, I don't know if that's my parents, but I just always believe that. Like, I truly believe if I really wanted a job at NASA and if I really studied for it, I could probably do it, Like I would just it would take a while and I need to figure it out. But I don't think there were any one-to-one skills from corporate law that translated perfectly to entertainment law other than like I feel and I do give Simpson credit for this, but they Simpson made you like a vicious stickler for detail. Like, it like if the period in this sentence was not where it was supposed to be, it was like a very big problem. That's problematic in 2025. I think people don't tolerate that type of energy anymore. But yeah, it was like if this period is not right, it's a very big problem. If this is paragraph is supposed to look like this and it doesn't look like this, it's a very big problem. You need to check every email you send out. Like we used to do weird things like we'd write an email, we'd proof it 3 times, then we'd read the last sentence first and we'd like go backwards and make sure like so your brain got out of the routine. We'd read from the last sentence to the first sentence, like all these weird, just hyper focused attention to details. I feel like that has been the greatest skill set. Honestly, more than anything I learned in corporate law or anything I learned in entertainment law was just like, no, attention to detail really matters. And you gotta get the punctuation and the spelling and the all the little things. You got to get those, you got to be obsessive about that because it's going to feel, because that energy is going to be translated in whoever's reading the document. They're going to be like, damn, like I maybe they won't even consciously think it, but it's a perfect document. There's nothing that distracts you from the point I'm trying to make. You're not like, oh, look at this person, he misspelled something, or oh, this is sloppy. Like there's 2 periods, or there's not one space after the period. There's three. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is, it's like no. When I send you this document, you're gonna be like, damn, this feels like a robot made this. Like that level of attention to detail I've taken with me even to today, honestly.
That's I could definitely see that, and I do resonate with your job philosophy also, because it's like sometimes it's like when you read a job description, it's like what are we really doing here? Like
I feel like job descriptions are nonsense. Like I'm like I mean I feel I get it because they're like, oh, we have to have some way to weed out qualifications. But I've always said that if I ever start a company, I will never accept resumes. I will never look at it. Will be like, what can you really bring? Like, I don't care if you went to college. I don't care if you went to, I don't care. I care like, oh, if I put you in this room, what could you really do? And do I need that skill? Like that's the only thing I feel like really matters. And I feel like that doesn't show up on paper. Like someone's a hustler, someone is always responsive, someone's always on. They're thinking of things that you're not thinking of. Like qualifications and resumes to me are nonsense, but that's
yeah,
another story for a different time.
yeah. It's like before we move on, it's like everything up to the interview process is a performance and some like it's very performative. So it's like
It's a huge performance. It's a huge like, there it's a risk mitigation strategy. They're just like, oh, you went to Harvard. Oh, you worked at Google. Oh, you must know how to do X. It's like, no, actually I don't know how to do X. But it just says I worked at Google, so now you think I know how to do X. And the same way with Simpson. It was like Simpson on my resume. I didn't like if someone was like, "Hey, Kyle, here's an M&A document right now." I would be like, "I have no clue what." You know what I mean? Like I forgot all of that stuff. But it Simpson on the resume impressed the next place, which and then that on the resume impresses the next, So it's like it was never about what I actually learned at any of these places. They were just signifiers for competency. And so like that's important, but it's not competency. It's a signifier of competency, but it's not, oh, are you actually really good at your job? It's not, it doesn't show you that at all. And I feel like what could you actually bring to this job? Like in the real world, what relationships? Like, could you actually bring me the rights for a script, or could a connection that I feel like that's so much more important than like where you went to college, where you went to grad school, where you went to what was your like that stuff is irrelevant to me. But
Not our problem for now. um, so after that, you did move to Blumhouse as the director of business and legal affairs for film. Um, what was the process like getting that job? Like, did you simply just apply? Was it networking? Was it something else? Ziplining?
that one was crazy, and but again, it was because I was at Netflix, but literally someone just asked me if I'd be interested in like working at Blumhouse. And so again, like which is crazy because of how everything shakes out. But that one was literally I was like kind of recruited, like it was like, oh, like there's an opening. They need someone who's like kind of at your level. Would you be interested in applying? And I was just like, oh my God, Get Out. Like one I had been like, well, mind you, ever since I saw Get Out, I was like, oh, I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. Like I did not want to be a lawyer. From the moment I saw Get Out, I was like, I made a terrible decision. I need to figure out how to stop being a lawyer. And so the whole time I'm doing all these career moves, I'm also applying for like assistant at this production company or like I was applying for also SVP roles. I had no clue what any of it meant, but I was getting rejected from all that stuff too. And then so when the Blumhouse offer came, I was like, I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. Like I actually do not want to be, I want to stop being a lawyer. But if I get into Blumhouse, then damn, I'm so close to the team that made Get Out. Going back to that concentric circle idea where it was like, you know, I will be in the building with the people who made this film that changed my life. And who knows what I can do once I'm in that circle. So that's really was my thinking behind it. But yeah, it was the initial thing was just like kind of a recruiter type vibe. Like, oh, do you want to apply for this? But because I was at Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, still really cool. So from you're in the building now, and a few years of work is put in within this building, and then you ultimately, I won't say ultimately, but then you get the role as a creative executive. Um, what was that transition like? Like, was that another like, was that putting yourself out there? Was that someone noticing something with you?
1,000%. It was like literally in my second or third week there, the president of film sent out a company-wide email, and he was like, is anyone available to go to this play tonight? Like the lead in the play was the wife of a really important director to Blumhouse. And so Cooper just wanted to go to show love. Cooper's the president. He wanted to just go to show love, and he's like, does anyone want to come with me? And it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday at like 7 o'clock when he sent the thing, and 7 o'clock at night, and the play was like at 8 o'clock in Glendale. And I was just like, damn, yo, this might be my only opportunity to have like a one-on-one time with the president of film. Like I should just go. And I just went. And there was a crazy story that happened at the play, which is a very good story. But he eventually, because of the crazy story, um, he was like, oh, can I give you a ride home? And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I would love that. And so we're in the car, and he's like, okay, like, who are you? Like, we didn't really know each other. And I was like, oh, hi, I'm Kyle. Like, I just joined in legal. And he's like, what he's like, that can't be, your story. And I just remember, I tell people all the time, like, there's moments where you're going to be in a portal, what I call a portal. And a portal is just, it's an opportunity that you're just like, on average, this will not happen again. Like the circumstances are just really odd. Like this is, I'm probably never gonna be alone in the car with the president of film ever again. Like, and I haven't to this day. I still have, like, that just hasn't happened. It's just the way things go. And so I just remember being like, yo, YOLO, like I don't care. Like I was like, I just joined as a lawyer. I don't want to be a lawyer, but I just felt like if I came to Blumhouse, I don't know if you've ever seen Goonies, but there's this scene where Chunk just starts like ranting and he starts telling his whole life. And that was kind of me, where I was just like, yo, I don't want to be a lawyer, but I came to Blumhouse because Get Out changed my life. And you guys made Get Out, you guys produced Get Out. And I just wanted to meet you and like meet you guys and like hope that one day, maybe you guys can recommend me to be an assistant at some other production company. Because I want to be a creative exec one day. Because I'm just like, yo, you're in this portal, like, who cares? Just say whatever. And he's like, all right, well, obviously I can't make you a creative exec, but I can add you to our team listserv. And as scripts come in, if you want to read a script and, email your thoughts, like, knock yourself out, like, have fun. And I was just like, oh man, like, you don't even know what you did. Just like you now have let me in to the just outside the circle I've been trying to get into. Like, this is now I can see the front door. Like I have come from outside the neighborhood and now I'm at the front door. And so for a year, I was just every time a script came in, and it was crazy, but I every time a script came in, guaranteed that my notes would hit the listserv at like 7 o'clock the next morning, regardless of whenever that script came in. I was like, for 1 year, it does not matter. It does not matter. If this script comes in at 9 o'clock at night, it comes in whenever, the next morning, you need to have notes on it. And I just took that very seriously for an entire year. And I think after that, it's like, okay, guys, this kid is standing on the front steps and he's not going away and he's just adding value every single day. Like this, and it's we should probably just let him in. Like, like that's the way I spun it, where it was just like, yo, I'm just gonna try to overwhelm you guys. And I never asked. That was the other thing. For a year, I said, I want to give a year of nothing but extreme value in a very intense way. And Michael Myers was my like, how Michael Myers, like, he's just slow, but he's like always coming and you can't kill him, like that's who I imagine myself. I also do that. I imagine myself to be certain characters when I need them at certain times. But I just imagine myself as Michael Myers. And I was like, for 1 year, every time a script comes in, I'm just walking forward. And so that's what I did for a year. And then at the end of the year, I was like, I need to ask for this letter of recommendation because I want to just go be an assistant somewhere else. Like, I weirdly wasn't even that pressed, but I go to him and I'm like, yo, this is for me, it was my last portal. But I was like, like when you're on like by the third date with a girl or something, I was like, oh, I think this is going great. Like, what do y'all think? You know what I mean? And then he was like, all right, yeah, yeah, you're right, you're right. We already talked to your legal boss, this guy Brad, and we asked him if it was okay if he joined us full time, and he said yes. And so then it was very nice and fun after that. But yeah, that was how the crossover happened. You know what I mean?
That's very dope. And like hearing that, it kind of affirms for me that it's kind of twofold. Like it's it is the zip lining, it is the creative maneuvering to get into the neighborhood, but it's also like from external factors that you can't control from, entering the portals or whatever. There's also like this, for lack of a better word, game of proximity.
The three things that whenever I give advice to people, I say proximity, you have to be conversant, and you have to be additive, meaning you have to find who the decision maker is. Like like not the person who has to talk to a committee, like who is the person who right now could change could change your whole stuff. You have to find that person because that person can really do it. And everyone else, like, they can't really do it. So that you're kind of barking up the wrong tree. But if you find the person who can really do it, who can really give you what you want to get as proximate to them as possible. You want to, like with Cooper, it was like, I'm in a car with this guy. Like, there's no greater proximity. And then conversing is like, oh, anything this person you want to get proximate to, you can talk to them on their level about what it is. If I really wanted to, I don't know, get involved with Jeff Bezos, I would be like, okay, look, oh, boom, I found my way into Blue Origin or Amazon, and I'm on this team where Jeff sometimes comes into the room. I need to be able to talk knowledgeably about whatever it is they're talking about. So for the movie industry, it's like, yeah, you should know all the latest releases. You should know who directed what. You should know, like, that, because for all those guys, it's falling off their tongue. Like, they'll just be like, oh yeah, the new Ari Aster film or the new Philip Brother film. Like, and so if you can't be conversant, it's like you're ruining the benefit of being proximate. But then once you're proximate and conversant, then you want to be additive, which is like, oh, and not only am I close to y'all, not only can I talk your language, but here's a script in the movie industry. Like, here's a script that you guys didn't know about, or here's a potential deal that you guys didn't know about, or here's a potential, the director has availability and is interested in, I know you guys are trying to find a director for the script. I just met this director who did this big film, and he wants to do horror, and he can do it. And it's like, when you're proximate, conversant, and additive, it is very hard for that to not get you what you want. You know what I mean? Because it's like, damn, this person's close to us. They they seem to know exactly what we're talking about, and they're adding value. Like, I feel like once you can figure out how to string those three things together, that's when you can really start to see movement. You know what I mean?
For sure, for sure. You know, hearing you talk, this is not on the script, but I really want to know, because as of this offer, like, you're where you want it to be all this time, right? So what did that like feel like? Like, was there like a celebration? Like, when's there to be celebrated, right? So like, I don't want this to be a thing where just like, yeah, I did this and I did that. Like, what did it feel like, man?
Two things. It felt good, but I feel, and this is not a therapy conversation, but I do feel like I struggle from destination fixation sometimes, where I can feel like I obsess over, achieving something, and then as soon as I do, I'm like, okay, great. Now I'm a creative exec. Now I gotta find the thing, like, and then all of a sudden, so it's definitely like a day of like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. Like, damn, I did this. I really wanted to do it, and here it is. And then immediately I can feel my mind going to like, okay, but now I got. But it was definitely one of the best days of my life because it just felt so improbable. Like, I had no, I like, I got rejected from every single entertainment law firm in New York City, in-house and outside counsel possible, because I had no, except one, because I had no entertainment experience whatsoever. They were on my resume, which I also hate, but there was no hint that I knew anything about the movie, even though I loved movies, and I went to the movie and I'd always read the trades, and I knew I was conversant, I knew all the directors, but there was nothing on my resume that said anything close to being a movie person. And so it was just a trip to be like, yo, I was a random Key and Peele fan. That's all I truly was, just a random Key and Peele fan. And I just was like, oh man, like the guy I love from Key and Peele, he's making a horror movie, and I know Paranormal Activity, and wow, that's crazy. I wonder, what. And then it was like, oh wow, this is kind of like the story that I wrote and I abandoned. It was just too crazy. And then to realize I went from that to being on the team that produced, it was great. It was like, damn, no matter what type of random person you are, no matter what type of resume you have, if you there is a way to get there. And I'm not that special. I'm not that smart. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't do anything brilliant. It was just kind of, it was strategy, honestly, strategy and audacity. But it just felt like, damn, like I was a truly random Key and Peele fan that ended up working for the team that produced the film that changed my life. Like, that was crazy. It was so improbable that that happened. And it's just been, I use that as like a reference point for like, yo, if you really, I know the cliche is like, oh, if you set your mind to it, but that shit is real. Like, if you really set your mind to it and have a very solid plan and have a lot of audacity and a little bit of luck, like, you can really hit something that you're just like, damn, I didn't think that was possible, you know?
Yeah, for sure. So for those who aren't in the film industry, overall, like at a high level, what do you like actually do as a creative executive?
Yeah, I feel like it's twofold. It's one is there are a ton of scripts that come inbound, right? And so you're trying to find something that's commercial, castable, that directors are really interested in, and you're just, and that is gonna, it's gonna be different. Like, there's only so many haunted house movies. The Conjuring just came out. Conjuring's a great movie. There's like only so many movies that could be like that. So the creative exec's job is like, the landscape, and you got to find things that are both familiar so that the market knows what it is. Oh, this is a haunted house movie. You guys know what a haunted house movie is, but it's also different. It's from the house's perspective or something. Or it's from, Steven Soderbergh had a great film called Presence, but it's from it, like, there's this, the camera is a ghost in the house. It's like, whatever it is, you got to find like a new and interesting way into it. But that's the first and that's the first job of it, the first kind of line for a creative exec. And then the second is like, you're assigned to a movie and you're advancing the script, you're making, you're offering notes to the writer, you're also coordinating with casting, physical production, who does the budget, you're casting with legal, you're like, hey, we're going to fly an actor to set, we need to make sure we have a signed agreement before they get on set. So they're giving you updates on, okay, you need to go talk to their agencies, their agent or their manager, they're being really sticky, so it's a lot of triaging. At Netflix, they have this term called informed captains. And that meant like there's a Netflix has, like Blumhouse, Netflix has finance, legal, creative, physical production, marketing. There has to be one person who like kind of is quarterbacking the whole situation and can liaise with all the different teams and kind of be like, oh, this is what this person's saying, this is what this person's saying, let's move it forward in this way. That's the job of creative, is just to be the informed captain, to take the inbound and then be the informed captain, and then some of the more senior creative execs. They go on set, and so they're putting out crazy fires that happen on set, or they're dealing with egos and personalities, and it's a lot of firefighting at that point.
So you made an edit once using a song from the film
Yeah.
If Bill Street Could Talk, called Agape. It went viral. It got turned into an exhibit at the Academy Museum, and the song still echoes throughout social media to this day. First of all, like, what even went through your mind to like make you want to do that?
Yeah. Also, kudos to you and your research. It's just very good. It's very, very good. I went to the premiere at the Apollo in Harlem when I was an entertainment lawyer. I went to the premiere of If Beale Street Could Talk, and I had literally the worst seats imaginable in that in the theater. I didn't even know there were nosebleed seats in the Apollo, but it was like the last row in the nosebleed, and there was like some big person sitting in front of me. I couldn't really see. It was just It was terrible. It was like I couldn't see anything. The movie is phenomenal, but I couldn't like the experience. I couldn't see anything. But when I heard that song in the movie, I couldn't really see what was going on, but I was like, what song is that? That song, and I was just obsessed with like because I couldn't see the movie, so I like didn't really know what was going on, and I just kept thinking about that song. I was like, that song was astonishing. Like, what the hell? And I left, and as I was walking home, I was, and I feel like I ruminate a lot, but I was just like, man, like, because I saw Barry and Kiki and all the cast on the stage, and they looked amazing, and I was just in the worst seats imaginable, and I was like, damn, like I would love to make something like that one day. And as I was walking home, I was on my phone, and I had read this article about the University of Chicago had just restored this silent footage of the first known kiss of two black people on film. And they had just restored it, and I was looking at it, and I pressed play, and because it's silent, and I was like, "Oh, that's an amazing thing," but it's silent. Like that's not gonna do anything for anyone. Like it's just if it's silent, like what? And I was like, oh damn, but that song was so good. Like, what if I just, what if I just threw this song onto this silent footage? And I was like, oh, but there's no way that the song is available already. And I was like, let me check. And I like went to Spotify or whatever it was. I was like, wow. And it was weird. It was so weird because it was like they had already released the album. It was so, I don't even know why they did that, but the album was already available. And then I went through the album, and I was like clicking on all the songs, and I was like, wait, which song was it? And I finally click on it, and I was like, this was the song. And I just kind of edit and I put it. And the reason I put it is because, and this kind of ties into the Twitter of it all, but I just kind of always imagined myself on an island trying to send like SOS signals to people who could help me on my journey. You know what I mean? I never wanted to ask for anything. I never wanted to use hashtags. I just kind of wanted to create a big enough fire on my little remote island so that anyone flying overhead, well, interesting, there's something there. And that's what it was. It wasn't trying to go viral. It was just like, I'm just gonna release this into the universe and see what happens. It's just I believe that so much. I believe people should just put things out there because you never know what happens if it connects with the right person or. And so yeah, that was the idea. It was like I loved this movie. I was really sad how terrible my seats were. And just as a kind of catharsis, I was like, oh, let me put my great feelings about this song and this footage I see that's actually pretty cool. Let me just throw it out into the universe and just see what happens. And then it just went nuts. But yeah, that was crazy.
Wow, that's super cool. Yeah, I mean, I think you said a lot of things that even myself, but anyone listening can just like take and run with, even if it's just as simple as just doing a thing or like giving your thoughts, giving your compulsion just freedom to run, you know?
Man, I think it's like I think people I think people really underestimate how much putting the thing out there can change everything for you. I tell people like, yo, if you want to be a painter, just post 100 of your paintings. Like you just never know because it'll be like one person, you have 1,000 followers and 999 of them don't pay any attention to it. But that one person is like, yo, this is actually pretty good. Like, can I introduce you to my friend who's an art collector? And then the art collector's like, this is actually pretty interesting. Like, let me put you in touch with this fellowship and see. I don't know, like, no promises, but let's see. And then from there, you know what I mean? So it's like, I always feel like people think of it like, oh, I want to shoot something at this very specific target. And I'm like, sometimes, and this is, in addition to the concentric circles where we're talking about, figuring out the strategy, I think if you're also simultaneously like just putting out the energy that you're looking to connect with in the world, like I think that is such a huge benefit. And it's like, like for example, like I had never done an interview with you. And now I'm like, you're a great interviewer, And it's like
Appreciate that.
if if someone's like, yo, who's a good interviewer? I'm like, oh, Daniel's a great interviewer. Like just when you get that visibility in front of people, you let people work for you in a weird way. You know what I mean? It's just like putting yourself out there is so important because you never know what kind of path it can compound into.
Yeah, definitely. Wanted to call out another thing you did. You were credited as a director for 2022 film Pieces of a Memory. First of all, how did that come about specifically? Like, was it a brainchild? What was the inspiration?
That was an outgrowth of low key the edit that I did, where it was like also during like around the pandemic, where I was just like, like we never see old black couples in love. Um, like I feel like there's a lot of really great movies I've seen. I'm thinking of 45. There's a lot of other movies where it's like it's an older couple. It's an older, usually white couple, and it's amazing. It's amazing because it's not this like rom-com puppy love. It's kind of two people who have spent a life together. Like, what does love look like then? Like I just thought that was so crazy. And tying it back to Medicine for Melancholy, I was like, I haven't seen like a sweet, soft film with an older black couple. I just hadn't seen one. Um, and so I was like, yo, that's kind of cool. That's kind of interesting. I also think I was like on this Ossie Davis, Ruby D thing for a long time where I was just like, God, they're such an interesting couple. Like, they're great together, the funny chemistry, and they've also worked together. Like, that's so interesting. And so I just wanted to make something in the universe again, just putting out ideas where I was like, yo, I've never seen this, but I can raise some money and I can write it and I can shoot it and it's just out there now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like talking about feelings. How did it feel like to see that finished product?
Again, I feel I hope you talk to people who are, are very celebratory of their own emotions. But I feel like for me, I was just like, oh, I should have done that different. I should have done this differently. But when people see it, they really like it. and they really respond to it, and the actors really liked it, and we screened it. We had this really great kind of community, and people were crying, and it felt good to make something that people felt touched by. I was like, oh, I should have done this differently. I should have done this differently. Next time I'm going to do this differently. But yeah, it felt I enjoyed people talking about it to me more than I enjoyed looking at it. Because when I look at it, I'm like, oh, I should have done that so differently. You know what I mean? But when older, especially older, some of the older Black people I talked to, like those conversations were so cool. And they really liked it and enjoyed it. And so that was cool. That was really nice. For me, I'm just like, oh, next time I'm gonna do that, do this, do that. It's just, it's this kind of crazy perfectionism.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. Like, I trained Muay Thai. I did an exhibition, well, my second one last December, and I everyone told me I fought so great, and I felt like I fought great until I went back and watched myself, and I was like, "This is not what I was doing in sparring. Like, this is I should have like why didn't I roll like I always roll off the like it's just all these so like I feel you. Um, but earlier this year, you had the chance to moderate a conversation with Joanna Kahlo, who is a showrunner for The Bear, and Lionel Boyce, actor for The Bear. How did that opportunity come about? What went into preparing for that? And I won't ask how that felt, but I will stick with the first two questions.
No, I mean, honestly, well, I'll tell you how it felt. Um, it came up because, again, and this is what I think of just putting yourself out there. Like by then or by earlier this year, like, I developed somewhat of a known presence for like, you know, saying interesting things on Twitter. And so someone reached out through my sister to see if I'd be interested. They needed someone to moderate the conversation. And they just thought, oh, he talks a lot about film, and he knows film, and, he seems like a smart person. Can he do this? And that, honestly, that felt crazy. That did feel crazy. And that felt crazier than, and this is crazy, but that felt crazier than becoming a creative exec because I had never really seen myself as like a moderator of conversations. You know what I mean? Like I thought maybe I could speak on a panel, and I had spoken on panels before, but like I didn't think I could moderate a conversation. And I don't know. And I loved the bear. I was obsessed with the bear. I was obsessed with Joanna. I was obsessed with Lionel. It was a show. I was like again. I was just a stand. I was truly just. I wasn't like a moderator who they hired. I was just a stan of the show who like knew a good amount about film and worked in the film industry. And so, yeah, it was that to me was more mind blowing because I felt like they were true celebrities. You know what I mean? Like it was just so weird to just, you're again, like, when I saw Get Out, I literally was just a Key and Peele fan. And when I moderated that conversation, I literally was just a fan of the bear. And so it was just kind of surreal to just be asking them these questions. And then I went home and I was like, oh, that was so cool. Like, I'll probably never talk about it. And then I told a friend about it, and I showed them the pictures, and they were like, yo, why are you not like posting this, celebrating this? Like, what? Like, that's insane. You're being it was actually not a positive conversation. Well, sometimes you need that kind of like tough love or whatever. But I was just like, oh yeah, this was like a cool thing I did. And they were like, yo, like you're being delusional right now. Like you need to stop, and you need to like post about it, and you need to just be happy about it, and you need to not like just move on to the next, like just take a second. And I was like, damn, okay. So I did, and that's when I literally was not going to post about it, but then I posted about it. because of this friend's encouragement.
That's cool. You gotta have those people sometime. You gotta have those people. So you also created a director speaker series from Blumhouse, Homeschool. Did the moderation, did that come before or after the moderation?
That's what I'm saying. It came before.
Oh
And
wow.
so
Okay.
the bear moderation, I was like, huh. I was like, oh, I could. I just again, I had never thought of myself as a moderator. I didn't I just didn't. It never occurred to me. And so I then was like, oh, maybe I can create a speaker series for directors. Like it literally was like just this out of that. I was like, I had a fun time doing that. People came up to me after and they were like, oh, those were such great questions. Like, this was so great. Like, da, da, da. And they were so optimistic about it. I was just like, damn, like, am I tripping? Like, could I, like, it was just like, could I do this? Like, it was one of those moments, I guess, where like a superhero suddenly discovers they can shoot webs out of their finger or something. It was just like, damn, I didn't know this. I truly never knew that until I did the bear. And then after that, I just got addicted to it a little bit. And then I was like, oh, I can talk, like I can do what I do on Twitter, which is just talking about film, but I can just do it with some of the directors I love and I know, and I can just ask them to come, and you know what I mean? So it seems like, oh, I was planning, because if you look at my Instagram, like the pictures are so recent and they're like back to back to back. So it looks like I was just like planning all of this somehow, but no, like that first picture was the first picture of me and doing the bear panel was like wholly new idea. And then after that, I was like, then talk internally. I was like, yo, what if I did a director series and I'll invite people and I'll run it. It won't be a burden on you guys, but you pay for it. You pay for the cost. I'm not gonna pay for it, but you pay for the cost. But it's like, oh, it's this cool little salon type vibe, and look, I can do it. Apparently, like here's the bear. Here's the example I did with the bear, and everyone seemed to love it. Like, why don't I just it was that kind of unplanned, honestly.
Yeah. That's cool. That's super cool. Um, I imagine this moment for episode 3 of Barry Jenkins, right? Like, can you talk about your relationship with him and what it felt like, first of all? Because, like, from the outside looking in, just like following you on Twitter for like 8 years, um, just doing the research I did, like, it would be very surface level for me to call it like a full circle moment. So, like, what is your take of just like that whole thing, like being on stage with him at that moment?
I I disassociated, to be honest with
Sure.
you. I mean, I when I tell you I was in the when I saw um if Beale Street could talk, I was in the worst seat. I like it like I don't even know if it was like fire code safe. You know what I mean? Like it was the worst seat in the Apollo. I feel like if I ever go back to the Apollo, I can point to the seat and be like, y'all should get rid of this. Feels dangerous. This seat does. Yeah, he just seems so far away. I saw him at I went to the premiere of Moonlight, and he randomly appeared at a Q&A, or like a surprise Q&A after. And I went up to try to talk to him because I was like, man, the way he dressed, the way he spoke, and the way he answered questions, I was like, oh, that's exactly how I would have done it. Like oh, I would have, yeah, oh my God, like he said it even better. Like and it was just so surreal. And so I went up to talk to him and I just got like nervous and I just didn't. I just like, he walked by and I didn't say anything. And then so for him and I to be in conversation at a talk that I put together for Blumhouse as a creative exec, after, this whole get out, it felt like, it felt surreal. It felt truly surreal. Like I didn't really understand. Well, I mean, the other thing is like Barry and I, he's invited me to events. And so like in that time in between, I've definitely become like, oh, like you're a human, you're a human being. You're not just this like, figment in my imagination of like, oh my God. But he still is in a lot of ways. But yeah, so he had become more normal to me. And so that's when he actually reached out to me because he saw me doing the panels and the conversations, first with Joel Taylor, then with Karen Kusama. And he was like, yo, you gotta invite me. And I was just like, I didn't even know that. Like, I didn't even know that was, yeah, like, when do you want to, like, whenever, like, well, bro, any day, it was that type of thing. And I just was so floored. And he was, I mean, bro, like, I think there's a recording of that conversation was nuts. People were crying. Like it just got really like how we were talking at the beginning about like sometimes you're in spaces and you feel like, oh, this is kind of spiritual or something. It was not even to belabor it, but that it was just such a crazy conversation, and it was just so surreal. It was just so surreal about how if you're just persistent and you move with strategy and audacity, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you pretty much said what I could have imagined, like who could have drawn it up, Well, you drew it up, but
Yeah, but I mean,
like
but also, I also want to make sure that people understand, like, I do believe in the proximity, um, conversant and additive thing, but I do not feel like, I don't know if everyone feels, but I don't feel like an extreme architect of my life. I feel like I tried really hard to get close, and that's how you get luck. You just put yourself kind of in the right position, and then you hope that luck takes over. And I have been extremely lucky. I've definitely worked hard. I definitely have strategy and audacity, but man, we could have a whole other conversation on the way that I think luck has played a role in my life. And I never want to tell people like, oh, this is just, rise and grind, like just do it, It's like you need some luck. You need a lot of luck. And I have, the way you get luck is you kind of put yourself in position to hopefully catch it. But, once you do everything you can of putting yourself in position, it really is external. The other thing is that like I think you can put yourself in a lot of places to catch luck. So for example, like, like this interview, like maybe for me, selfishly for me, who knows who sees it? And then who knows who's like, oh, let me reach out to him. And that this to me is a form of putting myself in position for luck. It's like you never know. And I just always kind of live by that of like, you never know where, because that's the whole thing about luck. It's like, you don't know where it's going to come from. And so, like, if you did know where luck was going to come from, it wouldn't be luck. And so for me, it's like, I want to put out on Twitter, I want to keep tweeting, what I think are great ideas. On Instagram, I want to keep using stories to tell interesting stories about the things that I'm into or reading or this thing I liked. Or, when I meet people, I want to just tell them everything I think so that if they think of something, they can come back to me. Or if I think of something about them, I can come back to them on something. And I just think you just really want to increase the surface area of your net for luck. And I just feel like if you're a writer and you're just staying at home writing scripts, like, man, that's not the way to do it. It's like you should there's a great writers collective called Fish and Scripts. and it's like it's a community of writers, and they get together and they exchange food and scripts and ideas and fellowship, and it's like that's so great. That's what you should be doing. And you should be going to, if there's a screening of a film you like, you should be going there and trying to meet maybe the producer or maybe the grip on the film. Like just increase the, and it's, I always say it's like you don't want to ask people, do this for me, do this for me. It's like, no, I just want to show up as my truly authentic self in as many places as possible. Like I feel like that is the way. It's just be a good person, show up as your true, authentic, and passionate self, know what you're talking about, and like just hope luck will carry you the rest of the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. If you could choose, is there anything that you would have done differently in this journey, or did it happen as it was supposed to?
Man, there is not a thing that changed. Because, and that's not even because I'm some weird genius. That's actually the opposite, where it's like I just never know what led to what, and so I like there there's this one like fable I love, and I'm gonna butcher it, but it's this Chinese story, and this Chinese fisherman, he like loses his son, or his son loses his leg or something, and then someone's like, oh man, I heard about your son losing his leg, like that's so terrible, and he's like, oh, we'll see. And then like the next day, the army comes and recruits all the young men, and the young men go off to war and they all die except his son, who got to stay. Or the guy's house blows down, and he's like, and someone comes and like, oh man, it's so terrible that your house blew down. And he's like, oh yeah, but we'll see. And then like the next day, like someone says, oh man, I know your house blew down. Here's a bunch of gold to go buy something else. You know what I mean? It's like this attitude of always we'll see. Like I guess I'm saying like anything bad that has ever happened, like man, maybe it was necessary. Maybe it was any rejection I've ever gotten, any failure I've ever had, maybe all of that was necessary in ways that I can't even understand, you know what I mean? So it's like if I'm happy presently, I would never change anything about the past, because being if you're happy in the present moment, like that's the reward. Who cares really about what happened? So I wouldn't change anything. And the other thing is like I tried ever since I promised myself that abandoning that story at the beginning, the story that I wrote, I promised myself that that would be my last regret in life. So I like every time I feel like, Kyle, if you don't do this, you will regret it, I just do it. And even if I fail, even if it goes seemingly nowhere, like, man, I try to live my life by minimizing regrets, not minimizing failures. So like I actually kind of want to fail as much as possible, because it's just great information. But yeah, I wouldn't change anything because I'm presently very happy.
Yeah, for sure. Do you feel like where you are, like, hopefully this question will land, but do you feel like this is what you've worked for, or like are you doing the thing, or is this like a stop towards the thing? You know what I mean?
This I feel excited. I feel like like I have I mean, it's again destination fixation, so I'm always like, oh, there, I want to get there. But I feel like I have the little Avengers team to get it, you know what I mean? So it's like I definitely have so many things I want to accomplish. Like I still want to be directly involved with my own version of Get Out. Not necessarily my own story, but like just, oh, Kyle helped bring this really great idea into the world. Like I just feel like that's where I really want to go. And I feel like, oh man, I've got the tools, I've got the experience, unfortunately the resume, you know what I mean? Like I have everything is in line and I just want to hit it, you know? Like I can see the final front door. You know what I mean? Like I can feel like, oh, there it is. Wow. You know, there I've been thinking about this forever. I can see it now. And so yeah, that's what I would say is that like I don't feel like I've arrived, you know, but I'm excited and I feel like, you know, I always think of like Wizard of Oz, when they're skipping down the yellow brick road, like I feel like in that stage right now where it's like you're not at Oz yet, you haven't met the wizard yet, but man, like you're on the path. You're really on the path, and now it's just, you know, one foot in front of the other.
That's great. I like that answer. Um, we're gonna make it a little more surfacey. What were some of your favorite films to come out this year? Since you're very immersed in the industry,
Man, shout out Sinners. Sinners was great.
of
Shout out
course.
One Battle After Another. One Battle After Another is great.
Still gotta see that.
Um, a film called Bring Her Back, I thought was phenomenal. It's from the Philippi brothers. It's their follow-up to Talk to Me. I thought that movie was so gnarly. I of course loved Weapons, Zach Kreger's Weapons. I loved Ari Aster's Eddington. Um, I thought The Materialist was like a fun film to talk about. I'm trying to think of films that I also saw online that I loved. But yeah, I mean, I feel like, F1. I feel like F1 was so fun to watch in theaters. Superman was super. That's the other thing is I don't really hate movies. Like I feel like I don't. I've told people I don't feel like I'm a critic. I know I talk a lot about movies, but I don't feel like a critic at all. I tell people like I'm far closer to like a bird watcher than I am a critic. Like, I'm just amazed. I'm amazed. Anytime I see a movie, I'm like, damn, that's like, I saw people, they were talking about how like there were plot holes in Superman. I was like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, this is awesome. It's Superman and he's in a river of like atoms or something and he's trying to swim away from a black hole. I was like, this is exactly what I want to see. And then F1, I'm like, I don't even understand what they're talking about, but Damson looks badass. Brad Pitt looks awesome. Like, this is so cool. Eddington, I was like, yo, this is Joaquin being hilarious. And like, I don't know, Weapons was crazy and wild. It's like, I've one battle after another, the Phoenician scheme, Wes Anderson, like, I just don't see bad movies. I just don't think I fundamentally understand why someone would think a movie's bad. Maybe it's just not for you and maybe it didn't excite you. That's fine, but like I don't know. I've never got slamming a movie because I'm like, man, this means something to the director, hopefully, you know? And they spent a lot of time on it and it's just ice cream, you know? It's just a treat. It's just really stressed and I want to go to a dark room and I want to watch something crazy. And it delivers every single time. I saw
Love that.
Fantastic Four. I thought that was amazing. Like, I don't get it. I don't get what I try to read reviews. I think Ebert was the last. I used to read Ebert religiously. And he definitely ranks some movies poorly. But I don't get negative criticism, to be honest. I just think movies are awesome and there's something awesome about every movie.
I mean, I think there's something to that with like proximity, because like, for me, I've been to some sort of martial art for the last 5 years, started with boxing. So it's like when people who don't watch boxing like that watch a fight and they're like, a fighter is less active in the later rounds. They're like, oh, he needs to work on his gas tank. I'm like, do you know what goes into having the gas tank that he has?
I've
You
been
know?
I've, I've been boxing this year as well, and I'm like, Yeah, but you know what? That's a great point because I feel like and I think this is why I love film, is because I'm in the film business and I know how hard it is. Not even just like like just the deal making, like just the deal making of, okay, you have this idea, we're gonna buy this idea, we're gonna we're gonna green light it, we're gonna put a budget behind it, we're gonna, then we're gonna go and shoot it. Like it's so impossible for a movie to get made that when a movie releases, I'm just like, this is amazing. And I remember people were calling Bud Crawford. They were like, oh, he's not gonna be an interesting fighter. I'm like, yo, because y'all don't know boxing. Y'all don't know boxing. Y'all don't know that any one of these shots would knock anybody out. If you took a clean body shot from Bud, you would not be. No, it's not that you wouldn't be able to fight. You wouldn't be able to fight. Like it would stop you in your tracks. So all the punches you're seeing, the volume is so high that they kind of look ineffective, but any of these shots would knock anyone down. And so the fact that sometimes they're standing, they're not even moving, they're just standing there and just you know what I mean? And so that's amazing. But if you don't know technique and you don't know how hard it is and you've never been hit by a punch, it's like you see these two fighters and they're throwing a bunch of shots that seemingly don't do anything, and you're like, oh, this is boring. I'm like, this is not boring, this is insane. This is insane what they're doing. And I kind of feel that same way about movies, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there's like a mental war going on that a lot of people aren't even aware of to like set up the shot
Man, it's like
metaphorically, you know.
if you don't even know what a feint is, right? Like if you don't even know the strategy of like, oh, I'm gonna go to the body 3 times and then I'm gonna feint low and come up high, right? Like if you don't even know that, like when they do it, you wouldn't know to appreciate it because you don't even, you just think it. And I think the same with MMA. It's like they just see people kind of like on the ground. They don't think there's actual BJJ technique. They don't really know. This isn't just people rolling around trying to grab whatever. This is real technique that comes into place. I mean, if you don't know it, it's hard to appreciate it. And I feel the same way about film.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the takeaway from this segment, people need to have more hobbies. Like get into something to appreciate the thing, and then you can copy and paste that into whatever other thing that you might not appreciate, and
Yeah.
understand that there's an art to that as well. You know what I mean?
I feel like don't be be a consumer, but don't be a consumer. Like be a participant. Even if it's not, like if you try to build a button making business, right? If you just like, oh, I want to make buttons and I want to sell them, like you're gonna have a lot of appreciation for everyone who has a business, because you're gonna be like, damn, setting up an LLC, that's kind of hard. Making sure I talk to branding, right, for content. Like people think it's like this whole glamorous thing. It's content creation is so hard. It's like if you just try to do something, if you try to create something, like that's what I say, man. It's like you gotta flip out of consumer brain and go into creator brain. And when you're in creator brain, you're like, damn, that's anything any creator does successfully, you're just like, man, hats off to you, kudos, because I know how hard it is. And we were talking about that offline too, where it's like, I know how hard this is, bro. And so it's like anytime I see someone creating and doing something, I'm like, yo, I know. Maybe I don't have my own podcast. Maybe I'm not editing podcasts, but I've edited my own things too, and I've worked with editors, and I have friends who are also in content creation. I see it. It's a grind. And I don't think enough people realize that, to be honest.
For sure. Definitely not. Definitely not. You said you started boxing earlier this year. What else do you like to do to unwind? You know, we talk about movies all this time. Movies is probably a thing. Boxing is a thing. We got those two. What else do you like do?
My trifecta is boxing, swimming, and biking. I was gonna
Your
say
cardio is
cycling, but
crazy.
it's not cycling. It's like it's just a regular bike that I ride everywhere. But those three things, man, I feel like, my God, I'm not saying don't go to therapy. I'm saying those are my therapy. And I just feel like you get into such a crazy flow state with all three of them. Where, boxing, if you're on the heavy bag, but also if you're sparring too, like you just kind of lose yourself in it. And same with, oh my God, swimming, like I'll sometimes be swimming and I'll just like forget time. Like I just become like this one single muscle that is doing this one single act. And I don't have to think about my day. I don't have to think about I just gotta know as soon as I see the little, stripe at the end, just do my little flip turn, go back the other eye. And it's like, they're like, that's all I got to do. I'm just kind of a machine. And then biking, that is just like, you're just you're not racing, but you're just pedaling and, pushing as hard as you can. And you're going down all these streets and it's just, you can just get lost in it. And I feel like those three things are three things I try to do every day. But they definitely kind of level set me.
Yeah, yeah. There's something. I mean, there's something spiritual about all those things that you mentioned. So yeah, I can see it. Do you have any sort of upcoming events, any what's next, or anything in that realm that you want to share?
I'm speaking at a few panels. The Michaud Film Festival is coming up at the end of October, and there's another, like, a table read for a script that got selected, and they asked me to come and be an executive. And hopefully, by the time this drops in whenever, I have some very good news to share. I can't share now, but I hope we can add an addendum or something because I think it's amazing and I think it'd be just really interesting and cool. But it's not ready just yet, but I think it would make this episode really cool if it's out before that.
Awesome. Well, I mean, without knowing what it is, like I'm already happy for you. Like I know for a fact you deserved what it is that you have.
Thank you, brother.
So for sure. Is there anything else that you want to leave the audience with? Like you said a lot of things just effortlessly that people can take, but is there anything like on your heart that you want to share? Like it can be about film, it could be about life. I just want to give you the floor to just be miscellaneous.
And this came to me recently. One, thank you again for having me. This is great, man. And your research is just honestly, it's very good. It's very, very thorough and and as a former corporate attorney, I really appreciate it because I just feel like, yeah, whenever I see someone, oh, they're like, oh wow, you really did your homework. That's kind of what we were saying at the beginning. So, kudos to you and thank you for having me. The other thing I would say, man, is like, and this I've been really big on this lately, but I think people should really see risk and, like, let's call it failure and regret are they get kind of weighted the same, like, oh, I don't want to, like, I need to fail or I don't want to fail. I don't want to have regrets. They kind of get like weighted in this weird way together. But I think regret is such a great risk. It is I say failure is like a finite risk because you can always theoretically recover from it. Like, no matter how big your failure is, and you read any books on history, it's like, no matter how embarrassing, humiliating, devastating anyone's failure has been, there are people who overcome and have recovered from it. So, failure by definition is like finite. because you just have to recover what you lost. Regret, on the other hand, is exponential and compounding. Like if you like the easiest example I always talk about is like if you see a girl at a bar or something and you like don't have the courage or work up the nerves to go talk to her, like man, that could have been your life partner. That could have been, you guys' child could have been the Luke Skywalker that saves the world, like you don't know you because you don't know how big the loss is with regret, like it could be extraordinary. And if the only thing you have to do to not regret something is to risk failure, I'm like, take that trade any day of the week and twice on Tuesday. You know what I mean? It's like never let failure ever stop you from making sure you don't have regret. Like, regret is a very scary beast that can compound on you. And then all of a sudden, because if you don't do it this year, you're not going to do it next year. And then all of a sudden, you're 70. All of a sudden, you're like, damn, what did I do, bro? I should have just at least moved to France. My heart was set on France, and I should have. Who knows what moving to France could do? So the only thing I would say I've been telling people is like, failure is finite, risk is compounding. Failure is finite, and regret is compounding. And so it's like, man, do not try to minimize regrets as much as possible, and don't even care about any failures. Like, just make sure you have.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's the beautiful way to end it. And before we end it, do you want to put out like where people can follow you?
Oh yeah. It's KY. My name is Kyle Alex Brett, and people think I'm like my handle's Caliber or something. It's not. It's just the first two letters of Kyle Alex Brett. It's KYALBR. And I'm that on Twitter and that on Instagram. On LinkedIn, I'm Kyle Alex Brett. But yeah, I'm around, man. I'm available. I'm accessible.
Well, thanks so much
Man,
for
thank you.
taking the time in. Like I was really looking forward to this. I had a lot of fun, and like you have no idea, like a lot of what you said really resonated with me personally. And I appreciate, selfishly, I appreciate it. Like I for sure hope that, an hour and almost 2 hours into this that the listener has gained something, but I have certainly gained something from this conversation, man. Like you were a really good dude. And like, I'm rooting for you, like always. Like I've always been like, I was like, oh, this dude's cool. But like, now that I've had this conversation, like I can I can hang my hat on like rooting for your success, man.
I'm rooting for your success too, man. I'm being honest. Like I'm not. I know a lot of people may just say that, but when you sent me some of the questions, I was like, that to me was like, oh, whoa, like this is a fellow spirit of someone who like deep dives on their research and has it in a like well ordered way, and like so I'm definitely rooting for your success, man. Like I just feel kindred spirits, and it's like, this life is crazy and it can be crazy, but I really do put faith in people who like you just extremely prepare. You're a good dude. And like I feel like being good and preparing extensively, I feel like that's all you can control. And I root for people like that, people like you a lot.
Thanks so much. And the feeling is mutual, for sure. Feeling is mutual.
Absolutely, brother.
Like I'm dead ass like when you're speaking, I'm like, damn, can I make it out to LA? Like I want to support you, man. Like for real, for
Hey,
real.
if you ever make, wait, where are you based?
I'm in Atlanta.
Yeah, man. Oh, Atlanta. Atlanta's great. If I ever make it down there, or if you ever make it up here, let's definitely keep going, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll definitely be in touch for sure. Well, thank you everyone. You can follow me at the Monarch brand, and very excited. Thank you so much for listening, and we out.